Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Right now, get a free select tool when you buy the Craftsman V20 2-pack battery kit. Whether it's the backyard, the bathroom, or beyond, Craftsman has the tools to help you power through and get the project done right. Because DIYing is unpredictable, but your tools shouldn't be. Shop Craftsman at Lowe's today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
This is Sunbelt Commissioner Keith Gill, and I listen to the Funbelt Podcast.
This is the Funbelt Podcast, part of the Believe Network.
Folks, the Dusty Thibodeau of Warhawk Report, Jeremy Harper of Howlraiser, and Shane Metlin of the Daily News Record.
I think it's potentially a very good week for the Sunbelt.
But I'm just kind of going off on a random rant. It's just frustrating. Guys, we are, as of Sunday night when we record this episode, 80 days from a foot meeting a ball when St. Francis invades the Malone House of Pain to face ULM to kick off college football for the Sun Belt.
Wow.
Are you excited?
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. I was just informed Arkansas State is hosting Iowa State in week 3. And my wife said, you can't go. I said, I can't go. What do you mean? She goes, we've already had plans. That's when we're going down to Oxford and hang out with your son, Ben, to watch a football game there. So already consternation in the Harper household over the football season.
Are you leaving us for the Feinbaum show? Is that where this is heading? Just tell us.
No, nobody would be more. Let's see, what's more harmed by adding me to their show than the Feinbaum show.
You're just slowly going from the complete anti-Power 5 SEC guy to you're missing the biggest home game.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
Go to an SEC game. What happened to the Jeremy we used to know?
What I heard is that because Jeremy can't be there, bet heavily because Arkansas State's going to win that game.
Really? Okay.
Since you're not there.
Oh, I thought maybe you had penetrating inside information, but you're just saying because my negative energy will not be there, then A-State isn't suddenly the favorite to win the game.
And
it's just it's the way it always works out.
Okay.
Oxford, Mississippi is not that far from Jonesboro, is it?
It's about 2 hours.
All I know is that they're both relatively close to Memphis, so they can't be that far away from each other.
I wonder if maybe I can make both.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay.
You wait for kickoff times. Maybe you can maybe at least be there for the celebration afterwards.
Yes. Okay. There has to be some way for me to divide. I need a way to divide myself.
I'm guessing Jonesboro is not the most direct route back to Little Rock for you, but might be worth it.
No, it's no. Eddie, actually, it's Arkansas, Shane, and there's pretty much just one road to every place. Okay. So it's not that bad. Yeah. But anyway, yes, that's where I am, Tibbs. Tibbs, what's the first game for the Warhawks?
The mighty St. Francis Red Flash.
Okay.
The team that will be dropping from NCAA FCS to D3 at the end of the athletic calendar.
Classic Warhawks game. Shane, what game will you be covering for the Dukes? You have to look it up.
Yeah, I don't remember what week's what.
See, this is how prepared we are. We need these 80 days.
Okay, August 30th, I believe that's the Saturday of that week we're talking about. Weber State is at James Madison.
Weber State. Huh. Now that's a Division II, right? Yeah.
That's an FCS school.
Okay, that's not exciting. That's for
It is exciting for the opener when Mississippi State goes to Southern Miss on that same date.
Oh, okay, that's pretty cool. We get Southeast Missouri, which isn't very exciting. But
Aren't they making their FBS debut in that game?
No, really? No, that's Southwest Missouri. You're thinking of Missouri State, right?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Southeast.
The Maroon Bears.
I will have to admit, it's the next two games for JMU that I'm covering. That'll be the very exciting, probably maybe the most exciting stretch of the season for.
Let's hear these two games. I want to know.
They go to Louisville.
To Louisville, okay.
Find out.
The real UL.
They really have a chance at being a potential playoff team.
Okay.
And, I may or may not get some bourbon while I'm there.
Yeah.
I really like Louisville, so that's an exciting trip. Also a great game. And then maybe one of the best group of 5 games of the season, non-conference, interconference, JMU going to Liberty.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that's at Liberty.
Awesome atmosphere. That's September 20th. They have a bye week before that, but
now, Shane, a good way to get some inside scoop on those games, talk to some players and to maybe talk to the coach, Coach Spradlin, right?
That might be the other sport.
Wait, who am I thinking of? Who's the football coach? Oh, Causey. This is how prepared we are, Tibbs.
You got the right school, wrong sport.
Speak for yourself there, Harper. I have notes.
I don't have any notes.
I no longer prepared notes for you because you don't read those anyway.
It was so sweet that you used to do that. But Shane, what I'm saying is you could get that skinny. You can get that insight if you would just go to New Orleans with us. With Tibbs and I, this is how Tibbs and I fortify ourselves for the football season. We put our hands in the dirt. We immerse ourselves into the culture. We physically become Sunbelt football.
In other words, Jeremy gets drunk and runs naked down Bourbon Street.
There's a little bit of that.
True. I'm going to have to hang back and do it remotely again. There's a relatively big event in Harrisonburg same week, so I'll be hanging back for that. Katie Harper will go, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, well, she's nice.
So go see Katie, and you guys can buy her a drink or a meal or something, and be nice to Katie. And
now, when you say like a big event in Harrisonburg, are we talking like what? Like maybe one of those a book fair, or maybe some LARPing, or some other East Coast nerdy shit that East Coast people do?
You are joking, not realizing that the Green Valley Book Fair is a big deal in the Harrisonburg area. But
I would love to go.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about TBT, the basketball tournament coming to Harrisonburg, JMU. The $1 million 64 team. I don't know if they're going to have 64 teams, but it's that size bracket.
Okay.
National televised basketball tournament. That's quite fun. It's great summer content for us.
All right. I can't speak for Tibbs, but I will not exclude. What's the word I'm looking for? I absolve you of your guilt. You can go ahead and cover that amazing event in Harrisonburg.
Yeah, I'll be doing that. And I'm sure I will get a chance to talk to some players and coaches outside of media day.
You seem to have some inside.
Yeah.
So Tibbs, what are you doing to get ready for the football season? I know that you've got the new website going. You're trying to, make some connections. What are your preparations?
I've already started digging into game prep. So I have started looking at the Red Flash of St. Francis.
Okay.
I have started building out the templates for game previews and post game so that it's a little bit easier to
Good idea.
Bolt it all on. And then, of course, cranking out the content there with Chase Region for Believe in the Warhawks, given the inside ULM mention there. But none of that matters, though, Jeremy.
Why is that?
What does matter is probably the biggest thing that puts the Sun Belt front and center on the national stage.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Texas State claimed the Boobas Cup once again, meaning that they are the best all-around athletic program. Is that not the biggest news in the league?
You know what? Yes. I'm sorry. I was thinking maybe something else that was going on with a little bit more national flavor, but no, the Boobas Cup, which easily pronounced Bubba's Cup by the uninitiated. It is the Bubba's Cup. And for the uninitiated, correct me if I'm wrong, Tibbs, because I always get it wrong. But it's really a maglamation, right? Or not maglamation. You're accruing all these points for titles won, what place you came in, where your teams have come in. It's track, it's volleyball, it's women's basketball, it's men's football, it's all this stuff, right? And whoever has the most points wins. That's what it is, right? And Texas State, 3 of the last 4 years have won it, correct?
That is it. And it helps when they kind of dominate in the softball ranks, typically. Yep. In the track and field ranks, when it's not Arkansas State, it's usually Texas State getting those nods.
Yep.
Pretty good there in the golf game as well. And it's all those Olympic non-revenue generating sports that they've really dominated in. But you know what? That really is the secret to success, is being good across the board. And in ending the season in the upper half of the Sun Belt Conference standings, Bobcats are able to do that. So viva la Boobcats, and congrats on another Boobas.
Yeah, what helps too is fielding all kinds of sports. They field the full rainbow of sports. You know, Arkansas State, they collected the most points they've ever collected in a Boobas Cups. And they came in second this year. And wouldn't it have been nice if Arkansas State had a beach volleyball team, maybe a softball team? That would have been helpful, but not happening.
Having all the sports and having your sports be in the Sun Belt too, like, because you can look at a school like App State.
Yeah,
they've got wrestling not in the Sun Belt. They got field hockey not in the Sun Belt, so they're not getting points for some of those ones that they're putting money into those programs. They have a reasonable amount of success in those programs, but they're not getting the Boobas Cups points for it. So,
all of A State's tremendous success in bowling, not counted. So, Tibbs, who came in last? Who was the worst team? Maybe you can go ahead and pull up those numbers.
The Panthers of Georgia State.
Okay, I thought it might have been the Warhawks, but no, it's the
and that's why we can no longer post video, as I tell you, Jeremy, how much you mean to me, and that you are number one in my heart.
Well, congratulations to the Warhawks for not being in the Sun Belt Boobas Cup race.
We do what we can to try to stay relevant in that sport, Jeremy. Glad that we can be the butt of your joke.
It's good material. I appreciate it.
And unfortunately, I pulled it up, and yes, ULM was last.
You had me convinced. I bought it.
I did too. I thought I had read it was the Warhawks, and then when you said Georgia State with such confidence, I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess I misremembered."
Yeah,
5.5 points behind Georgia State.
Oh, okay.
Let me ask you guys a question.
All right.
Would you rather win the Boobas Cup or have a team go into an event like the College World Series?
I think that if you're competing across the board, chances are you have a better shot of making your way to Oklahoma City, making your way to Omaha or anywhere else. So I think the Boobas Cup is a good precursor or a good indicator of you being on the national stage that way.
See, Metlin, that was a very diplomatic answer from a man who has deep ties with the Sun Belt Institution. I'm going to tell you this. I don't give a shit about the Boobas Cup. I will sacrifice any Boobas Cup points just to be in the national conversation in some big sport.
And I was really just trying to do a nice segue there, and he gave me a real answer.
He did. He gave you like he's getting a job with Commissioner Gills. He has like he's about to wear a shirt and tie and a jacket and be on TV.
The till in the room. Yes, Coastal Carolina, second ever Sun Belt Conference team headed to Omaha after they powered their way through their hosted regional 2-0 in Auburn to claim the super regional over a top 4, top 5 national seed there in Auburn. Congrats to the Shots that they are representing and going there, and they're getting it done. They've had solid pitching, solid defense, solid at bats. There's nothing that you can say about this team to say, yeah, maybe they can. No, they've been dominating across the board. They have a long win streak, the longest in the nation right now, at 23 games currently as they head to Omaha.
Yeah, I've been watching, even though I've sworn I wouldn't, I've been watching a lot of college baseball, this tournament especially. And sometimes you look at a team, like maybe Murray State, for instance. Although Murray State, cracking it up, they don't look like, like a top-tier team. They're a little smaller than everybody else. They don't pitch as fast or whatever. Coastal Carolina looks like, that whole roster looks like they belong there. They're just from top to bottom. Solid batters, great pitching, just a huge representation. And they're, Tibbs, you got to admit, they're finally doing what we brought Coastal Carolina to do. And that was to bring Sunbelt baseball into national prominence. So long we had Louisiana, we had the Cajuns. They would do well. They'd be our representative. They couldn't quite get over the hump. I think we talked about earlier. They were there in 2000 for Omaha. Haven't been there since. Now the chance, not blowout, but win 2 in a row against Auburn. They look pretty good doing it. They made those Auburn fans pretty damn depressed. Wow. Congratulations to the Chanticleers.
Yeah, they should have been hosting a super regional. I mean, you look at their RPI, you look at everything they've done the regular season, you look at like what we're seeing now is the actual quality of Sunbelt baseball relative to the completely overrated SEC who got all those teams in and didn't do anything with them. I mean, they're going to get a couple teams to Omaha, but like if you put 14 teams in a 64 team tournament, like you can well better have at least 2 going to the final 8. Like
if we get 12 Sunbelt teams in, we could do that, right?
Yeah. I mean,
we can get half in.
It goes to like the bigger picture discussion about like that we have with everything is the Power 5 now becoming the Power 2, stealing like all the spotlight, all the money, all the spots in the postseason, like everything. And look at the Sun Belt. I mean, you got Coastal going to the World Series. Like in recent years, and then looking for their second national championship in recent memory too. Like, I forget. And in recent years, we've had not all these teams were all in the Sun Belt at the time, but this is recent memory. Marshall winning a national championship in soccer, making other deep runs. JMU's had good success in softball and deep runs, a national championship in lacrosse. That's not a Sun Belt sport, but like these are the schools that are in this league. It's a good conference, and it's just getting pushed. And conferences like this are just getting pushed more to the margins whenever they have a chance to like actually do something. Let's go back. They won a game in the basketball tournament last year. Like it's give them a chance to do something. Let's not push them out of the postseason because they're proving themselves across the board. And it's not just, JMU spends a lot of money and they've had success. Coastal, Marshall, App State, Southern Miss, like all these schools are proven they have some big time programs. Why are we seeing the 14th team in the SEC get in when like, who knows what Troy would have done?
Because we keep buying the storyline. Maybe not us 3 because we're smart. But for the most part, the national storyline is always, the SEC from top to bottom. They're so good. You got to reward that hard schedule. And we got to stop doing that. We have to stop preemptively rewarding mediocre SEC teams. I will say this, Shane, did UCLA become the Chanticleers of the Big Ten? Like they just sort of, rounded themselves up a good baseball program?
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
program, and now they've got somebody in.
Yeah, I guess. Because I mean, yeah, Big Ten wasn't really a baseball conference until they became a West Coast conference, were they?
Right, they got UCLA in there, so that's pretty good. Anyway, good for the Shants. It feels like they won those 2 games like 3 years ago. Everybody's still playing baseball, and they're just sitting around cooling their heels. But I'm looking forward to it.
So on that note,
Ooh.
shifting back to football.
Did we have a natural segue?
We do.
Oh, okay.
Going backwards, though, to football, again, the Sun Belt Conference released that there are still 5 guaranteed bowl berths available for teams with 1 backup tie still in existence. The 5 bowls, Montgomery, Mobile, NOLA, Cure Bowl, and Myrtle Beach, with a backup still somehow. I don't know how we'll be able to actually pull the trigger and pull it off, but the Indy Bowl is still willing to dance with the Sun Belt even after last year's fiasco.
Yeah, I was kind of afraid that ESPN was just going to take away some bowl games from us. Like, F you guys. If you guys don't want bowl games, we're going to take them away from you. You can have 2. We'll give you 2. But we got the full 5, and then the possibility of the 6. I guess they're short memories at ESPN.
Yeah, I felt a little underwhelmed. I think maybe by the announcement, there wasn't really any major changes, and no suddenly great Power 4 conference matchup or anything like that. It's a little underwhelmed, but it's tough. And I mean, the other thing is, yeah, we have the tie-ins, but everybody's gotten in lately. It's not like the Sun Belt's gotten left out even when they had like multiple teams. So it's like kind of like, I don't know. Just personally, I was a little underwhelmed. It was like, well, yeah, maybe you'll end up in one of those bowls, maybe not. Like,
you know how I felt about that news is like you get the press alert in your email from like Sam from the Sun Belt, and they give you a little graphic. And I pulled out the graphic. I was ready to tweet it, and I thought, that's really not worth it. It wasn't worth tweeting.
You know why it wasn't worth tweeting, though, Jeremy? Is because for the first time in the bowl game's history, there's no sponsor for the New Orleans Bowl. It was originally the Wyndham New Orleans Bowl, and then it's been a long-standing of the R&L Carriers, a shipping logistics company.
Yeah. Contract has expired.
No current bowl sponsor for the New Orleans Bowl.
Well, do we make that? Do we come up with a package, like a cash package? Let's say, I don't know, $250, and just almost unlimited mentions on this podcast. Let's see if they take the bait. They can put our logo up there, and let's see how it works. I mean, if you don't shoot your shot, Shane, you're not gonna, ever, be the man in the room.
I mean, the alternative to that too is the Bahamas Bowl. It's not going to be in the Bahamas. They're looking for another location. I mean, how big's your backyard, Jeremy? I don't know.
If I knock down some trees and maybe level it off a little bit, I might have 50 yards. It might be more like an arena football.
It could be like the, Fun Belt Podcast Little Rock Bowl, something like that. Like, I don't know. We could rent a local high school. Like, we could figure something out.
Yeah, or just just an old Walmart parking lot and just play on the asphalt. Just really define ourselves as a tough as nails bowl game.
Well, and that's what I was thinking too, because it'll be against the MAC. So Eastern Michigan has their gray field that looks like a parking lot. Coaches always give the speech about it doesn't matter where we play can play in an old parking lot. All right, cool, let's do it.
All right, but we should be able to dictate some terms. Like, did you ever watch the movie Kickboxer with Jean-Claude Van Damme?
No.
All right, in the final match, he's pitted up in the final match. And it's not just going to be like a regular kickboxing match, which is brutal and bad enough. What they do is they take their sort of gauzed up hands and they dip it in broken glass and glue. And so now their hands are just like, super cut up weapons. Can we do something like that? Like the linemen get to have like these gauntlets on?
In all seriousness, like,
are you pretending that's not serious? Come on, Shane.
I do kind of wonder if that'll end up in a Sun Belt friendly location, like just, to possibly land some teams in, because, they'll have to play it somewhere. And, I mentioned Little Rock. Little Rock is a stadium that doesn't get used. I've seen some of our ODU friends saying, hey, Norfolk would be a great place for a game. Like, there's some like locations, I think. They probably want to play in the South. So yeah.
Yeah, Little Rock doesn't have a bowl game. I think they were getting close to maybe the Birmingham Bowl, the people that were doing that, or Montgomery. I can't remember which one, but they were looking for a place, and Little Rock was in the talk for that. And it looked like it was going to happen. And then the editor for the statewide paper comes out and goes, oh, we don't want some bowl in Little Rock that's going to be half full and nobody watches on ESPN. This is an Arkansas Razorback state. And just went on, and it killed it. It totally killed it. So
okay, this half full stadium argument, like maybe, but like people watch bowl games, like,
and it may be half full, but it's zero full.
You're sitting around at some Christmas party, like you don't want to be at. You go turn on whatever bowl game it happens to be.
It was the dumbest shit argument I ever saw. Like, good God! But that's what they are about Arkansas around here. They don't want anything competing with Arkansas. So the last thing they want is like a MAC team or a Sun Belt team coming in and enjoying themselves. God forbid, not buying any Razorback gear, not saying woo pig suey, not going around and sucking around Arkansas's big old hog. They don't want that happening. God forbid that people have fun without the Razorbacks.
On that note, bowl games might be a little bit more important going forward.
Why do you say that?
With the now NCAA House settlement discussion entering the picture, universities will now be able to pay their players directly, meaning the budgets are going to swell and they're going to need more cash money, baby.
Totally confused by this.
So the fact that you will have to really be competitive, to go into the postseason, to get that bowl bid, to get the paychecks, to do whatever you can, all that's coming down the road. Shane, do you think that is another factor that puts a little bit of pressure on that, hey, we got to go bowling this year?
Yeah, and also I think you're going to see more people playing in their bowl games. Like,
thank God.
I think you're going to sign papers that say you can't opt out of your bowl game because you're waiting to hit the transfer portal. Maybe you still hit the transfer portal, but you sign up for the season if you want to get that revenue sharing, which I think should help make these bowl games more entertaining for the general public, more interesting, and something desirable for fans of schools. Marshall, we talked about that situation. They did play in it. Even if they'd have played in the Independence Bowl last year, would any of their fans have cared?
I don't know. It was a pretty big game. Was it an Army versus?
It wouldn't have been their team.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I think this will probably create a situation where you end up having your team go represent you in a bowl game, because if you're going to sign up for this revenue sharing, I'm sure there's going to be clauses that you have to stay through the end of the season.
Well, hopefully the teams will get smart. But I will tell you that the nuts and bolts of it, Shane, really confuses me. I know that the new incoming athletic director for Arkansas State, that was like his first priority. It was like, well, we got to figure out what the House is going to do. All right, the House is doing this. So what's going to happen, Shane? Can you break it down? Can you make it simple for dumbasses like me?
Not really all that simple, but I can try. The big thing is that it's now, this was already legal in a lot of states that had kind of said NCAA rules don't apply here. Tennessee, Virginia, or some of them, Texas had just done it. But now you can get your payments directly from the school. It's a revenue sharing agreement with players. This is part of the House settlement. Is, if you want to know what the House case is, it was basically former players suing, saying, hey, we didn't get NIL while we were here. We missed out on a lot of money because you made rules that were against the law. Yeah. Where's my money? So part of the settlement from this case, which the NCAA could have lost, I think like $12 billion if they had lost the case. So they settle, of course. $2.8 billion is getting paid back to those athletes who were part of this class action lawsuit, back money. So I think like all the Sunbelt schools are going to have to chip in like $300,000 or something of this. Like,
well, that's
the
entire Warhawks budget, right?
This $2.8 billion, and most of it's landing on the Power 4 schools, which it should, and the NCAA. But when they opt into this settlement, now the Sunbelt, the Power 4 schools, all the ones that opt into the settlement are now allowed to do revenue sharing with the athletes, which means they're negotiated into the settlement was basically a salary cap for the entire athletic department. Like you can't do a revenue sharing of more than $20.5 million, I believe is the total for this first year, which is a certain percentage of the average athletic budget for the Power 4 schools that were named in this lawsuit. So, just because Texas's revenue is, $100 million more than Kansas State's, for instance, they can't just go spend a higher percentage. It's capped at 20.5 million. So that's going to be like what those schools are initially spending. Like the Power 5 schools have basically all said, hey, we're going to be at the cap. What we're going to have to see now is, the Sunbelt schools are going to be paying, they're participating in this, but will the budget be more like 2 million per school, 5 million, 7 million? We'll see. It's not going to be 20 million. It's not even going to be close to 20 million, but I think, it could be around 5 to 7 for some of these schools, which, you could probably get a fairly decent team together if you're a good talent evaluator. With this. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. There's that.
The other big part of this settlement is an increase in scholarships that are available.
Ooh.
Football now goes from 85 up to 105. And a lot of this is still dictated by conference of what the members agree to.
All right.
I honestly, Shane, I haven't heard where the Sun Belt's going to move their football scholarships. I know 10 of the 14 teams in the Sun Belt are staying at the 10 scholarship or 12 scholarship range for men's and women's basketball, but you can go all the way up to 15 of scholarships. Baseball can now go from 25 to 34, soccer upwards to 28, softball to 25, and volleyball at 18.
Damn.
Yeah. And one of the things that changes too is it's a roster limit now. So for football, for instance, your roster is capped at 105. It used to be you could have 85 scholarships and you might have 130 guys on the roster with a bunch of walk-ons and gray shirts and everything else. That's not really going to be the case. I mean, I think a lot of schools are still going to be around like 85 scholarships and still have 20 walk-ons, but the roster itself is getting smaller. Tibbs talked about basketball. Men's basketball can go to 15 now.
Yeah.
And they can all be on scholarship. Although men's basketball coaches are like, why do I want my 15th guy on scholarship? We'll save that money and go somewhere else. Like he's not going to play. But you've had teams that had like 12 or 13 scholarship players, and then they maybe had like 5 walk-ons to bring their roster up to 17. Mm-hmm. There's going to be some fewer roster spots potentially for some of these sports, but possibly more scholarship opportunities. Especially a sport like baseball, you're probably going to see there's fewer guys on the team, but a higher percentage of them are getting scholarships. So that is another big change about the settlement that is probably what delayed it being approved for so long, is because the people who were losing a roster spot were like, hey, now wait a second. Like, this is not good for me. Why do I want to sign on for this? They're going to get grandfathered in. So basically like a school can say like, this guy was on the roster last year. We don't want to cut him until he's graduated. Like, so we'll probably still see some bigger rosters here in the next few years, but that's what the settlement is going to be when it's all settled in, and these players are grandfathered through the system.
There it is. A mess as always. Anytime there's money and the NCAA involved. Can we not just go back to the Tennessee days of handing people bags of McDonald's bags of cash?
Well, it was more entertaining. It was funny when they got caught, but we all knew everybody was doing it. It was more fun. It was
honestly may go back to that to some degree because people are going to want to go over, like the Texases and the Tennessees of the world are going to want to go over this $20 million cap. And there are still NIL deals. Like remember, the NIL is name, image, and likeness. It's my ability to make money off of myself if I'm a college athlete. So like, just because I can only get my share of the 20 million from the school directly doesn't mean if I'm the star quarterback that I can't go find another NIL deal. So somebody might still end up making a ton of money. And part of the settlement too is that those NIL deals have to go through a clearinghouse now to be approved by Deloitte. So it does create another mess. That, what if those deals aren't approved? What if we have a deal that we know is not going to be approved? Let's just not report it or whatever. You're going back to, and this is not an original thought of my own. Dan Wetzel wrote this column for Yahoo the other day, but you went from eliminating cheating to bringing it back essentially with this like NIL clearinghouse is that people will cheat.
Yay! Cheating is back
to make deals fit within the structure.
Oh man, there's no perfect answer in this imperfect world.
Yeah. But there is, Jeremy and Shane. There's plug promos and parting shots.
Absolutely.
Shane, since you are just jumping at the bit, please plug promo and parting shot us.
Okay, well, parting shot, related to this whole discussion of, revenue sharing. Schools in conferences like the Sun Belt having to kind of figure out ways to generate more revenue so they have more money to share with athletes who want to come to their school. This was brought up by our friends from Marshall. I think a couple of Twitter accounts that we follow and see on the Marshall side of things. I think it was their Barstool account, maybe also our friends at the Thundercast. I think we've talked to those guys before. Podcast that covers Marshall. The idea of there being a lot of successful musicians, particularly country musicians, with ties to either a Sunbelt school, a Sunbelt town, a region, things like that. They brought up the idea, a music festival, a Sunbelt music festival, country music festival with all these people, generate some revenue. I tossed out the idea, okay, yeah, if you're doing a festival, you bring as many acts tied to Sunbelt schools as you can. Have it a place like the Greenbrier in West Virginia or maybe Hot Springs, Arkansas, maybe both. Maybe you have an Eastern date and a Western date and you bring them. You pool all that money into the conference and it goes into the conference distribution. Like, they normally pay out, $2 million per school, whatever. It's going to increase a little bit, as time. But hey, if you make $5 million hosting a music festival or whatever, put it in the pot. And then there's that much more money to go around. You've done something creative. You've showcased too, like that, hey, here's something cool about our schools too, that we have these celebrities. You see concert series and stuff on campus a lot. I don't know if anybody can pull it off quite on their own. So, hey, what about the Sunbelt Music Festival? And give those guys credit for coming up with the idea. I think it could be kind of cool.
Not bad, Shane Metlin. And now that we're like sponsors of the New Orleans Bowl, we could probably be promoters of this idea, right? We could probably maybe get ourselves a little cut.
Maybe. I mean, we do have like $250 to.
Yeah. We can double that.
If the Orleans Bowl doesn't take our money, maybe they will.
I'll go next because I have a just classic Shane Metlin plug, Warhawk Report.
Wow, that is so lame.
Covering the Warhawks, new platform, new day and age. You get early access to Believe in the Warhawks 2 days earlier before it's out on Spotify, Apple, and everywhere else that you get to hear it. Great active message board that you will not even get to see unless you are a paid subscriber of the Warhawk Insider. Check it out, warhawkreport.com.
I am going to have to become a paid subscriber just so I can see what Warhawk fans are saying about the Warhawks.
I want to be a subscriber.
Well, you'd think we'd be offered a free subscription, Shane. I haven't seen that come through my desk. So.
Checks in the mail. What do you have there, Jeremy, to close us out?
Kind of a public service announcement. By the way, I dropped by Little Rock's Pride Parade. Shane, have you ever been to a Pride Parade?
Not a parade. Okay. This is kind of, I'm taking up your space here for your parting shot. But
you go ahead.
Last year, my daughter was working at a booth at a Pride festival thing in the park and things, and I took her, dropped her off. And you guys ever watch the show Parks and Recreation?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Early seasons when the character Mark was on there.
Yeah, Mark disappeared. Yeah.
The Aubrey Plaza character, she had like her boyfriend who was also gay and had a boyfriend too, and complicated relationship, but it was funny. And like they showed up for Halloween he was dressed as like a straight guy, and then Mark walked in and he was dressed exactly the same in like a blue dress shirt and khaki.
I remember that episode. Yes.
Yes. I, without thinking, took my daughter and was walking through the park to take her to her booth at the Pride Festival that, her friends were selling some wares and things. And, I'm dressed in my mind. I look at myself and I'm like, I'm dressed exactly like that. Like I'm walking through the Pride Festival as like the Halloween costume of a straight guy. Like
you were projecting bland heterosexuality.
Yes. I even like texted an old friend and I was like, hey, do you remember this episode? And like sent him like a gif of the of it. I was like, this is exactly what happened to me today.
You met the stereotype head on. Tibbs, you ever go to a Pride Parade?
Not on purpose. Was on Bourbon Street one time way back in the day in New Orleans, and a second line came through that was definitely very pride-ish. So they're without my proper consent, I guess I could say.
I will say that probably the New Orleans one is a lot wilder than the one you'll see in Little Rock, which is quite tame. It was just mostly a lot of people selling artisan soaps and stuff, kind of like the festival atmosphere you were talking about, Shade. Yeah. I was thinking about wearing a Care Bears t-shirt and being colorful, and then I got to that moment, I kind of lost my nerve, ended up just wearing a pink linen shirt. I was kind of neutral, still projecting, though, bland heterosexualness, but that's not really what I'm talking about. It kind of got into that. But before I went to the parade, I did something all 50-year-old men should do. What would that be, Tibbs?
I'm assuming you had to take a cleanse, sit on the pot for a couple days, and then you went night and woke up with new stories.
I am due for that. No, but okay. I should have done that. I have not done that yet. No, that's not it. Shane, what did I do Saturday morning with my wife? She joined me for this.
I don't know. When you said what all 50-year-old men should do, I thought the exact same thing.
I did what we should all do is I got my shingles vaccine, went to the pharmacy. Meg and I made a little date of it. We plugged us up with some shingles vaccine. Shingles is not something you want. You get it, you regret it. It's painful. I only know this through friends who have gotten it, who didn't get the shingles shot or got it too late. Now, they're suffering from it. So if you're my age, 50, Generation X, you hear me? Go get your shingles shot. My arm's a little sore from it, but, I'm a big, strong man. You can be a big, strong man unless you're a woman. You can be a big, strong woman. And yes, that is my parting shot, which is more of a public service announcement.
And now I know why Shane doesn't want to meet you in New Orleans. That sounds like a shitty date.
You should come, Shane, just for this. I'm going to be passing out shingle shots.